Ghost of Tsushima
is all about honor. How honorable can you stay when your enemy has no sense of honor and will use your own sense of morality against you? It's a deeply moving tale, one that shows all the flaws of putting one's own honor above the safety of those depending on you. So today, let's ignore the entire lesson of the game and be so stupidly honorable it hurts. I mean, it really, really hurts. Can I be all of Ghost's story while allowing only counterattacks? This means I can only attack back if I perform a perfect dodge or a perfect parry. Both moves require me to act at the last possible moment before I'm impaled. This will require a New Game Plus run to ensure I have both abilities right away, but that will also upgrade the difficulty of enemies that I face. Other than the minuscule, practically worthless amount of healing I gain on performing a perfect parry, I will not allow healing nor any charms, which will make this challenge considerably harder. I will allow any armor, but for the grand majority of the time, I will only be wearing the Ronin outfit for the Samurai Jack aesthetic. Of course, this will all be on lethal difficulty as well. Lastly, you probably realized archers don't provide any chance for perfect dodge or perfect parry. Instead of fully excluding them, I'm only allowed to attack them by bow, only after dodging their shots, and may only fire once after each full dodge. The real focus of the challenge is every other enemy type anyway. Now let's go be so stupidly honorable and never attack unless it's a counterattack. What better way for the challenge to start than by me dying repeatedly to a normally easy optional fight? I really love that from the enemy perspective, it just looks like I stand there and wait to die. But that's cause if I parry too soon, I gain nothing out of it. Well, I get to stay alive, so better parry too soon than too late. Per usual, meeting up with Yuna means I have to face the first tutorial that will damage my challenge when I have to assassinate this Mongol. But I haven't grown up in America all these years and not learned a few tricks. He's clearly got a gun, so therefore this is obviously self-defense. Then I'm off to join Lady Masako and Ryuzo, both in my least favorite activity of getting scarred by a blade I'm not allowed to defend myself against. What I can do, after a nice deal of deaths though, is get lucky. Both of these fights rely on my ally not going down in combat, because I need their help and there's no way I'll be able to pick them up while also trying to defend myself. I especially need help against the Mongols with the huge axes, as the timing on the perfect dodge for them is much harder to pull off and they can't be parried. The value of friends I can throw into danger for me can never be undersold. In between the fighting, I do have to sneak past this Mongol blocking my way to an alarm, and while I know it's possible, it's not easy to do. It's true, he does not have great perception skills, but I never imagined Jin's unorthodox reality-breaking way of climbing ladders would prove so crucial. Mainly because I have no clue how I did that, but it works with me. What I'm not glad about finding out is that honor has a bad side to it. Who could have guessed? When the Mongols threaten hostages, I can't do anything more than stand menacingly in between. It's not a very effective strategy. I can only hope that the archers will hit the hostage threatener while trying to shoot me, knocking them out of their action. Thankfully, they love to stare at the hostages for a while before they do anything, which gives me the time I need. If I can avoid a shield pancaking me, that is. When the Mongols assault our refuge, protecting all the civilians is no easy task, but I have Yuna here to help me. Now if she'd stop going down, that would actually make her a big help. The next group of friends I do help out are captured Straw Hats, and that goes way better. At first anyway, as I let them do all the fighting for me, and I simply play medic should any fall. Unfortunately, no one else here is trained in first aid, and when a massive skirmish breaks out, I spend the next 20 minutes crying for help. Turns out, leaving myself defenseless while I try and pick up the injured Straw Hats isn't always the best decision. The number of spearmen waiting to poke me is higher than I prefer, though admittedly, the number I prefer is 0. I just have to wait to get lucky and for the Straw Hats to do just barely well enough to keep the Mongols' attention and take them all down. Very slowly in some cases, like here when the real main character of the game, that is this spearman, takes on all of us by himself. If he manages to survive his wounds here, I'm convinced he'll be the protagonist of the sequel game. With the mercenaries saved, I advance to save my uncle from captivity. There's just so many guards, and bringing Yuna in helps make her more of a liability than an aid. Better to wait until the majority of the enemies are dead at my hand before bringing her in. Admittedly, I don't have to fight quite this many at the same time, but there is a point to it. Upon every perfect parry or killing of these Mongol captains, there's a chance that I will terrify the other combatants into fleeing. So I figure the more I fight at once, the more I might terrify. I'm not terribly certain the logic holds or is even worth having my attention divided this much, but it's the strategy I stick with for better or worse. Usually painfully worse. The big troubles are the big guys, but I make sure to save them for last if my parries don't scare them into stopping. That way, Yuna can shoot them, something she does with ease. With the way cleared, it's time to face off with the traitor Ryuzo. You know, I expected the worst facing my old frenemy, and he does win 10 times. But all things considered, that's not nearly as bad as I expected with my history of losing to him. All that practice and fear creates a sensible approach, I suppose. I find that perfect dodges are a lot easier to time than perfect parries, though they do slightly less damage. But if the choice is between dying or less damage, I think you'll understand when I take the less damage route. With how quickly Ryuzo gets his hits in, I expected another loss. But there's the value of never quitting even when defeat feels certain. I mean, when you die in 1 or 2 hits, defeat always feels certain, so one learns to roll with it. That gives me my victory, which brings me up against this flame sword user. I'd later learn to easily handle these guys, but for now, when an enemy is wielding a blade of fire, I find my natural instinct is to run away. Or even better, use my defenseless uncle as my shield. He's too busy thinking about honor or whatnot to even notice my shenanigans, so I think it's okay. Then I can heroically stand by, providing minimal medical aid to my allies as they carry us through the rest of the fighting and into Act 2, where I'm immediately confronted by a shotgun-wielding brute that proves to be the most intimidating enemy of the challenge. These guys easily tear my health apart, somehow reload with ease, and only provide me with one hard-to-time move I must dodge in order to land a hit. I'm far too panicky to land said hit, but the bad news is, he doesn't have nearly such a hard time hitting me. I'm just glad I got lucky and scared him into running away on my next try, or I'd have to resort to drastic measures. Like, making my uncle fight him for me. Helping my uncle take over a Mongol fort while being fired on by a rain of fire arrows does go quite well, and for once, not because he does everything for me. He does do a lot of the combat, but after practicing in a few but very painful Mongol camps, I'm able to succeed more and more often at my parries and dodges. Unfortunately, like every run, this challenge faces the roadblock of having to use the fire arrow launcher to protect our messenger boat from getting overrun. This one small part of the game that bears no danger to me always hurts me more than most other parts. Time to go fight an angry general with a fire sword and hope my tears will put out the flames. Every few moments he lights his sword up, and that completely removes my ability to perfect parry him till the flame extinguishes. That means I'm stuck poking him with the perfect dodges I can lock into, or wait till the flame goes out and hope I can actually manage the perfect parry, which is always pure luck when I do. Also, I find it's vital to keep some distance between us, or I won't be fast enough to dodge his attacks back to back. But if I can do this, then we're just in a rather simple, if awkward and overly extended dance together until I can land just enough hits to bring the fight to a close. Which means the game forces me into another tutorial, but at least I can always wait out the ghost mode after and deal with the rest of the general's men with proper counterattacks. Followed by another tutorial moment where I have to poison an enemy. But we can't be sure he didn't have a heart attack a nanosecond before the poison hit him, and that killed him instead. It's a possibility. Things turn sour once more when I need to infiltrate a Mongol base in order to take down Ryuzo. Multiple brutes with fire lances or shotguns, whatever they are guarding the place, and I fear nothing more than them. Okay, well, maybe commitment, but other than that. Several deaths ensue, but after taking it slow, ensuring I wipe out everyone in one half of the base first before moving to the second half, I can minimize how many I have to fight at once. I can then dodge my way into killing one brute, then get showered with good luck when I perfect parry a swordsman and slash both him and the other brute with a single strike. That was not planned, but let's pretend it was. All that effort for Jin to be easily knocked out and captured alongside Taka. Amazingly, this once, Taka is so skilled that he easily kills the Khan, but oddly enough, breaks the fourth wall and erases my footage of it. He then flies off into godhood. It was absolutely insane, and definitely not me being delusional in a wish for Taka to survive the game for once. I feel more delusional over beating all the nearby Straw Hat mercenaries with relative ease. It starts off poor, per usual, but Taka must have bestowed me with some of his skill before ascending, as I suddenly land perfect parry after perfect parry. Turns out holding block for their first strike, then attempting to perfect parry their subsequent strikes is much easier than trying to catch their first blow right away. Down goes the Straw Hats, followed quickly by another victory when we storm my uncle's captured castle. My allies make short work of everyone, but here's where everything goes wrong. No, not Ryuzo's second duel, though admittedly yes, I die tons there, far more than our first duel, but I do manage to overcome that and learn his timing as I always do. What I can't overcome is right before. I must clear out 5 Mongols guarding a watchtower so Jin can survey his surroundings. Why Jin can't just sneak past and peek around anyway? I don't know, but it's what the game demands. I can't ambush them, obviously, not by any means. So I must alert them to my presence one by one in order to hurt them. The first 3 are extremely difficult as each will attempt to hit me twice, and I must take all 3 out perfectly. Perfect dodging or parrying both attacks, cause a nanosecond after their 2 attacks, they will alert the castle and I will fail. Each enemy also requires 2 hits to die, so I'm thankful they do give me the 2 attempts before crying out. That's where the top floor, guarded by an archer and a brute, is impossible. Neither will give me the hits needed, with the archer not even trying to attack me, immediately backing away and focusing on alerting the castle. It's real intelligent, but really annoying. So even after tons of attempts to eliminate the first 3 guards here, the last 2 must die by dishonorable attacks. It brings me great shame, but there's no alternative, and so they die with a little piece of myself. For such great dishonor, I imprison myself, prepared to serve life for my crimes. Until about 5 minutes in, I realize how boring prison is, and I break out. I'm going to quickly wish I stayed in prison, because this last act is sheer hell. It goes well for 1 tiny second when I manage to save a group of hostages. Well, half a group of hostages from a shotgun grunt, but then everything falls apart. I thought it was bad being stuck here in my no damage run, but an hour and a half of suffering while trying to save these other hostages is way worse. As we've established, I can't do much in a hostage situation except hope the attackers will get shot accidentally by their fellow archers or my allies like Yuna. Unfortunately, Yuna is more of a liability since her bow is of little use against all these shield units. Secondly, those same shields make it hard for their allies to accidentally hit them in the crossfire. Add on to that the sheer number of enemies, plus even the weakest unit takes 2 hits to kill, plus most times the enemy just stares at me, so I'm stuck waiting for them to attack, which leads to a dead hostage. This makes it really clear why I struggle for so long to win here. My only chance is in getting lucky with terrifying my enemies into fleeing, but my luck and skill is nowhere high enough to do that. So after 15 minutes of losing and no closer to winning, I switch outfits to my ghost outfit. Still charmless, of course, but this outfit gives me a 30% chance of terrifying enemies when I kill them. That means luck is still key, and will take a while to pull off, but the increased odds of scaring my enemies is all I need to tip those odds in my favor and save the hostages. See? I didn't need to sacrifice my honor to save anyone. I mean, in dozens upon dozens of alternative timelines, the hostages died because of my stubbornness, and it was pure luck they didn't die this once, but still. I get a minor moment of peace when I'm forced to forego combat in favor of stealth when I survey the Mongols' forces. I'd never be able to get past these two guards, though, if not for this very handy tree and their odd inability to see Yuna, despite her less than stellar stealth skills. Combined with a close by checkpoint that I can sprint to right before getting caught. That relief is then blown out of the water as these last sections of the game prove far more difficult than anything I've faced as of yet. At first, I feel hopeful, as I genuinely feel no Ghost challenge has forced me to improve in skill as much as this one. But that improvement still is not up to the threat of the freshly resurrected Khan and his forces. The Khan, by his evil lonesome, is enough for me to rip out my precious fur and gnaw on my tail in fury. To put this as succinctly as possible, he's frickin' annoying. The Khan spams the same two moves over and over, moves that can't be perfect dodged or perfect parried, as far as I know, except for the very end of one of them. If you deal enough damage, he'll start mixing in attacks that are actually parryable, but the timing isn't so simple to pull off, and missing it often means death. For 1 hour, I die more than ever to the Khan. I can avoid him for a while, but the rather small arena, plus his endless spamming moves, makes it quite difficult to avoid forever. Lose enough times though, and then get lucky with the perfect parries. I do mean it. It's luck, not skill with those parries, and I'll be able to beat the Khan. He, of course, poisons me, and at first I heal, thinking that's my only way out, but immediately I realize I'm an idiot, restarting from checkpoint. Instead of healing in a way that breaks the challenge, I just rush forward and successfully do a perfect parry, which provides the minimum heal needed to halt the poison's path and let me begin the even worse section of the battle. It's a proper end boss fight, and I commend the game for that, but I still weep openly as the pain mounts. I've already spent an hour fighting the Khan solo, and now that he has a bunch of friends, including a whole lot of intimidating brutes, I'd take 3 hours, 50 minutes more to best this area. I know it's possible, as throughout that time I'd get close, only to fumble it all and fall. It only takes 2 hits, sometimes even 1 to bring me down, and the Khan is quite good at that. The first group of guards are certainly a threat, but also one I'm more than capable of neutralizing on repeat without any trouble. Perfect dodges are just so satisfying, and I'm actually consistent at pulling them off. Almost as consistent as I am at dying in the following second wave of enemies. I know I'm not skilled enough to dodge all these brutes while also trying to land perfect dodge hits on them, so I don't even try. Weaker units that I can pull perfect parries off, or the Khan himself that I can perfect parry, are key to my strategy. If I can cause the brutes to be terrified, they won't be an issue. If I can ever survive long enough to make it work, that is. The Khan is far harder to parry than anyone else, and I keep paying for it. The other reason it takes so long are 2 firebombers who won't ever let up. They're easy to avoid, but they rarely take a swing at me, and when they throw their bombs, none of the other attackers will attack, which drags the fighting out even further. It's a huge battle of attrition, and I always make a crucial mistake sooner or later. That's bad enough, but even if I do succeed, it means I must perform a special move that destroys the Khan's polearm. That's definitely not a counterattack, so I have mixed feelings about this success, but don't worry. It won't ever take long before I'm back at the start of the fight once more to restart this lesson in learning to be more like my role model, Sisyphus. I fight, I kill, I die. I fight, I kill, I die. I fight, I die, I die, I die, I die. Until I don't die. Until my luck and skill finally hold just long enough for me to terrify all the right enemies, break the Khan's polearm, and avoid his remaining allies long enough to bring him down. He's much easier once his polearm breaks, and I'm extremely cautious, terrified of ruining yet another close run until I'm forced into using 3 more aggressive attacks to finish him off. I've never been so happy to see button prompts that call for challenge breaking. Due to how careful I was, that last attempt took 17 minutes all on its own. After that, I hoped my final battle against my uncle would be much simpler, but I'd have no such luck. My uncle is a speed demon, and many of his blows down me in 1. Or even if it does take 2, he's so fast that it's a minor inconvenience for him to do so. Another hour and a half passes battling him as he proves to be the superior fighter. Keeping my distance is everything as it buys me that nanosecond I need to dodge, with most of my successful hits coming from perfect dodges. After 5 hits, he becomes even more dangerous, such as with one move where he unsheaths his sword and strikes 3 times. I can often perfect dodge that first move, but when I don't, it's nearly always guaranteed I will get hit at his speed. Over and over, I dodge everything else and then fall to that. I can run away, and will, but he always returns to that move, and I'm too stupid to keep running. Self-Defense 101 is always about sprinting from someone brandishing a blade, but there's a big invisible force field keeping me here. Divine intervention, perhaps. Over 80 deaths at his hands, and he would have far more if I didn't finally learn to jump over his final blow that comes from the 3-hit combo, making the unavoidable move finally avoidable. This vital change and many pokes to the stomach finally free me from the misery of this duel. That was hell. But huzzah! I've never grown as much in a challenge before, but this one really made me suffer, so I guess that's quite the trade-off. It took 672 grueling deaths in 22 hours, 17 minutes to do so, with 2 extreme fails, plus the standard annoyance fails from all the unavoidable button prompts. But to answer the question, mostly yes, you can beat most of Ghost with only counterattacks. It was fun in a I'm in agony, please kill me kind of way. Thank you all for watching. I truly hope you enjoyed. I'm off to counterattack life by lobbing buckets of lemon juice right into life's face the next time I see it offer me lemons. I wish you all the best of luck in doing the same. See you later, friends.